One team had just proved it can close, and the other had Oklahoma on the ropes and let it slip. College Station is the pressure cooker, but who finishes? CC, pecking order at stake, momentum swing game, and narrative reset for both programs. I'm your host, Nathan Johnston, alongside betting expert and co-host Rooster, and tonight's special guest, my mom. My mom has joined the show tonight, so we're happy to have her. Rooster, right out of the gates, I got to ask you, which matters more Saturday? A&M proving it can handle success, or Auburn proving one loss won't be two?
I think the most important factor is neither of those. The most important factor is that Auburn's offensive line has to actually exist instead of giving up 10 sacks in one game. How does that even happen? What the heck? Like 10 sacks in one game was just absolutely unacceptable. That offensive line was more porous than just a popped water balloon, and the water just comes spewing right out of it. That O-line was so god awful last weekend. And then it doesn't help when your quarterback can't do anything at all other than overthrow wide open receivers on double moves all day long. But then I will say they did get hosed a little bit by the referees, and I did get some heat in that earlier in the week. But I do think that the biggest issue in this game is going to be whether Auburn's awful O-line can hold up against a stout Texas A&M defensive line.
Yeah, Rooster, you hit it right on the head. And you talked about the offensive line being a huge factor in this game coming up, especially on the road, right? They go into a very hostile environment. The 12th man, as my mom said before the episode, she knows her ball. She's not here for no reason. She knows her ball. I would not let her on if she didn't know football. But I have to ask you this, Rooster. Hugh Freeze, a lot of people say he's on the hot seat, right? He's going from frozen to heating up real quick. If you're Hugh Freeze on Saturday, well, really this week, what's the one message in the team meeting room coming into the Saturday?
That question is a very loaded question when it comes to the one message, because the one message could be directed at the referees, and it could be, how much money do I have to pay you this week? Because Oklahoma was obviously in the referees' pockets last weekend. And I think that Auburn, if they're able to run the ball a little bit, I mean, the Texas A&M defense was not that impressive last week. They gave up 40 points against Notre Dame. If it wasn't for a dropped PAT snap, we could be looking at Texas A&M as a completely different team. So I think that Hugh Freeze is going to be able to motivate his team, tell them that, look, guys, Texas A&M is defeatable. They almost got beat by Notre Dame. They went into Norman, Oklahoma, and outside of the exception, you change one or two plays in that game, and that game's a tie game, potentially going to overtime. So I think the message just has to be the guys need to stay strong, that they can overcome some adversity. It's going to get loud, but like all the coaches say, if you can overcome that initial home field surge, anything can be insurmountable.
Yeah, and, they come off of a tough loss against Oklahoma, against a very dynamic quarterback in John Mateer. Now they have to go on the road and face what I would consider an even more dynamic quarterback in Marcel Reed on the road. Defense travels, offense might struggle. How do you game plan for this guy in Marcel Reed? I mean, do you try to keep him contained? Do you just try to limit his passing? What do you do if you're Auburn's defense in this one?
Well, if you're Auburn's defense, you're not going to be able to eliminate his passing game and his running game. So you're going to have to decide, who do you trust more? Do you trust your defensive line to stay and contain, or do you trust your secondary to stop the air raid pass offense? So you have to ask yourself, would you rather completely eliminate the run and make him beat you with the pass, or would you eliminate the pass and make him beat you with the run? And if I'm answering that question, I will pick to stop the run and just contain him, prevent the scrambling all day long, because in the long run, it is going to be much more beneficial to make Marcel Reed throw, because he proved he had throwing problems last season.
Yeah, and not to mention, A&M has one of the most dynamic duo running back core in the country, in my opinions, with Owens back there and company. Is this a breakout game for A&M? I mean, I know we've been talking about Auburn a lot so far, but you got to think this is A&M's chance to prove themselves too. Yes, Auburn's coming off of a loss, but they're still a good football team. They have one of the best wide receiver cores in all the nation. They've got a pretty solid defense, very good head coach in Hugh Freeze, regardless of what people think. Is this the game for Mike Elko to come out and say, hey, we're here to stay?
I think it is because Texas A&M the last couple of years, they've been preseason top 15, top 20 teams for it seems like ever since the NIL period started because of all the oil money they have out there. And they've continuously shown that they cannot overcome the adversity when they get backed up against the wall. I think that Texas A&M, if they're able to come out and they get two very big wins back to back, it gives them a very strong foundation they can build on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and A&M coming into this game favored 6.5 at home. Again, neutral site tells you A&M favored by about 2.5 to 3.5 points. Shout out Rooster. He always says that home field advantage gives you about 3 points, and spread difference just purely based on home field advantage, especially in a place like College Station. This is a massive matchup. 3-1 versus 3-0. Auburn unranked. A&M comes into the top 10 for the first time in probably since 2020, if we had to look back that far. 6.5 point favorite. Mom, I'll turn it over to you. Big storylines in this one. Jackson Arnold versus Marcel Reed in the quarterback play. I think you give the edge to Auburn in the receiving core. I think you give the edge to A&M in the running game. D-line, O-line, probably give the edge to A&M, but it's a toss-up. Who do you have coming out in this SEC matchup in College Station, Mom?
Well, since I'm from Texas, I'm going with A&M. They have a huge advantage at home, and you can't beat that. And like you said, running game, defensive line, offensive line, that's how you win games.
Boom.
A&M, that's who I pick.
Gig 'em. You heard it here first from my mom. Well, you got to show it in the camera.
Oh, gig 'em.
There you go. Rooster, I'll turn it over to you. I mean, this is a big matchup for both teams. Mike Elko, Hugh Freeze, both need a big win here. 12:30 kickoff on ESPN. Who are you taking in this SEC matchup?
Well, Nate, I don't know if you've heard that song, that new country song that came out a couple months ago, but Texas A&M has a body built like oil money because that's exactly what it is. That roster is just filled with talent up and down the whole entire lineup. I think they have a lethal duo back there with Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens. And then you said a lot about the Auburn receivers, but don't discount Casey Concepcion, the top receiver transfer from NC State, as well as Craver, who dropped 200 yards on Notre Dame last week. Give me the Texas A&M Aggies in this one. I think that the home field advantage combined with the better quarterback, the better running backs, and the better trenches gets the job done.
Yeah, Rooster, you often say quarterback play in college football means more than any other level of football. And that's exactly why I'm taking the Texas A&M Aggies. This is a no-brainer. Marcel Reed makes you have to think twice about him running. Whether it's putting a guy at spy, whether it's putting containment on him and leaving the bull rush out of it, you've got to find ways to stop him. And they couldn't find a way to stop John Mateer. How are you going to find a way to stop Marcel Reed? It's night and day. I mean, we talk about how good John Mateer is, and he's a great quarterback. But the athleticism of Marcel Reed reminds me so much of Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson type style play. It's going to be impossible to keep him. It's not about stopping him. It's about limiting him. And I just don't think they're going to be able to limit him enough. So give me the A&M Aggies in this one as well. I know we all picked them, but I think they roll in this one. Give me the Texas A&M Aggies to cover the spread.
I got one more thing to add. The Auburn Tigers are also going to be in between two very emotional games. I mentioned this in my pick earlier this week. Auburn is coming off of the return game from their quarterback going back to his previous school, and then it's followed. They do have a bye week next week, but their next game is against Georgia. So two of the biggest games on their calendar are surrounding this one game on the road at Texas A&M. It's going to be a dip in the schedule, and I think they're not going to be able to come the emotional swing. And I think that Texas A&M is going to be able to get a further advantage out of that.
Yeah, two top 10 matchups back to back. It's going to be brutal for the Auburn Tigers if they don't come away 1-1 in this series in the next two games. Curious to see how this one plays out. Auburn fans, A&M fans, drop your score predictions down below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. Help us to grow to 1,000 subs. We're almost over halfway there, so help us out. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.